Hello and welcome to the session on role of UNESCO in education. Social development in a country can be defined as the rising of the general standards of living of the people, the satisfaction of their growing material needs, the reduction in their inequalities and advancement of the disadvantaged groups of that country. The cultural development of a country can be defined as the development of knowledge, values and attitudes of the people in that country. Thus, cultural development is directly related to the social development of a country, for which education becomes a compulsory subject. Education is an important human activity and its importance in society is indispensable and coherent. In a world characterized by diversity and pluralism, education focuses on the values, attitudes and behaviors which enable individuals to learn, to live and become active participants in the transformation of their societies. It is one of the most important investments a country can make. The impact of investment in education is profound, thus resulting in increasing in income, improvement of health, promotion of gender equality and reduction of poverty of a country. Education at all levels and in all its forms constitutes a vital tool for addressing virtually all global problems. Thus, education is critical for sustainable and viable economic growth of a country. There are many intergovernmental organizations that provide assistance for education worldwide. A few of them are the United Nations agencies such as UNESCO, World Bank, FAO, WHO, UNICEF, etc., the regional development banks in countries like Africa, Arabia, Asia, etc., the Council of Europe and the European Union and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, namely OECD. Of all these institutions, UNESCO is the most important one. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization or UNESCO is a specialized and intellectual organization of the United Nations which was created in 1945 with a mission to contribute to peace in the world through education, science and culture. The governments of the United Kingdom and France in November 1945 convened a conference for the establishment of an educational, scientific and cultural organization in London. 37 governments sent delegations to London for conference that led to its formation. Clement Attlee, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, inaugurated the conference. UNESCO came to being on 14 November 1946. On 14 December of the same year, it was brought into relationship with the UN as a specialized agency after the requisite 20 states had signed its constitution. In the first general conference that took place from 19 November to 10 December 1946, Dr. Julian Huxley was elected as the Director General. The formation of UNESCO started with the negotiations of a wartime conference of Allied Ministers of Education or CAME. The leaders of the participating countries wanted to work to develop ways to reconstruct education around the world once the World War II was over. The conference was held in London in November 1942. The conference examined a proposal by the committee headed by the British scholar Gilbert Murray calling for permanent organization for education and better understanding. Of all the agencies in the United Nations system, UNESCO alone is devoted to the idea of humanism. UNESCO pursues its programs mainly through education, natural sciences, human sciences, social sciences, culture and communication and information, thereby contributing to building of peace, eradication of poverty and sustainable development. Some of the programs that UNESCO sponsors include literacy, technical, international science programs, teacher training programs, regional and cultural historical projects, etc. UNESCO has presently 196 member states and 9 associate members. It is currently divided into 3 different governing, policy making and administrative branches. The first of these are the governing bodies that consist of the General Conference and Executive Board. The Executive Board of the organization is composed of 58 members who have distinguished themselves in the field of education, science, culture and communication. Scientific committees and intergovernmental and international councils also provide expert advice for the programs. Importance of education in the Constitution of UNESCO. Education constitutes the major activity of UNESCO. It believes that education has a crucial role to play in the decades to come in the creation of a new world order and in ensuring social and economic progress on an equitable basis. UNESCO fully recognizes the intrinsic ties that link education, sciences, culture and communication. The Constitution of the UNESCO was adopted by the London Conference in the year 1954 and entered into effect on 4th November 1946, when 20 states had deposited the instruments of acceptance. The importance of education within UNESCO's program is well evident from the articles of its constitution. In Article 1 of its constitution, it has stated the following: UNESCO must help in the work of advancing the mutual knowledge and understanding of people through the means of mass communication. It should collaborate among the nations in the development of educational activities by providing equality of educational opportunity without distinction of race, sex, language, religion or any distinction that is economic or social. UNESCO should also help in the maintaining, increasing and diffusion of knowledge by taking part in protection and conservation of world's inheritance of books, works of art and monuments of history and sciences. UNESCO should encourage cooperation among different nations in all branches of intellectual activities, including international exchange of persons active in the field of education, science and culture and exchange of publication, objects of artistic and scientific interest and other materials of information. It should help in encouraging scientific research and training. It should promote in the application of science to ensure human development and rational management of natural resources. It should take special care to give fresh impulse to popular education and to the spread of culture. UNESCO should help in suggesting educational methods best suited to prepare children of the world for responsibilities of freedom. Principal sectors of UNESCO. The 8 principal sectors of the organization are the following: educational sector, natural science sector, social and human science sector, culture sector, communication sector, external relations and information sector, general programs and program support sector, general administration sector. The education sector is the most important sector of the organization and is evident from the budget allocation. About 35% of its budget is spent on educational programs alone. In 1960, UNESCO adopted the Convention Against Discrimination in Education, which acknowledged the crucial role of education in ensuring quality of opportunity for members of all racial, national or ethnic groups. UNESCO's priority in educational field is to eliminate illiteracy, provide lifelong learning, address emerging social and ethical challenges, build inclusive knowledge societies through information and communication, secure basic education for all, and also promote what may be termed international education. By international education, the organization means education for international understanding, cooperation and peace and education relating to human rights and fundamental freedom and eradication of discrimination of national education system. To achieve its various aims, UNESCO performs various activities. It sets and monitors international standards in education, gathers and disseminates various information of educational interest. UNESCO provides advisory services and technical assistance to its member states and helps them in setting up of educational institutions and centers. It provides subsidies to certain NGOs, organize seminars and symposia related to education. Other priorities of UNESCO are to develop technical and vocational education, higher education and adult education. The organization provides training to teachers and educational planners and administrators. The education sector of UNESCO has the following divisions: Division of Education Policy and Planning, Division of Financing Education, Division of Equality, Education Opportunity and Special Program, Division of Educational Sciences, Contents and Methods of Education, Division of Science, Technical and Environmental Education, Division of Higher Education and of Training of Education, Division of Primary Education, Literacy and Adult Education in rural areas, etc. Some of the institutions that support the activities of the education sector are the following: International Bureau of Education or IBE Geneva, European Centre for Higher Education or CEPES Bucharest, International Institute of Educational Planning or IIEP Paris, UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning or UIL Hamburg, Institute for Information Technologies in Education or IITE Moscow, International Institute for Higher Education in Latin America and the Caribbean or IESALC Caracas, UNEVOC International Center for Technical and Vocational Education and Training Bonn, IHE Institute for Water Education UNESCO IHE Delft, International Center for Theoretical Physics ICTP Trieste, Institute for Statistics or UIS Montreal, etc. Adult education. Education is a means to empower children and adults alike. The crucial role of education of the adults in the development of a society has been long recognized. Adult education is now seen as a key in the economic, political and cultural transformation of individuals, communities and societies. Since its inception, adult education has been a very important concern for UNESCO. Its contribution in the field of adult literacy and basic education should be appreciated. The first international conference on adult education took place in the year 1949. From then on, the UNESCO member states has dedicated themselves to ensure that the adults are able to exercise their basic right to education. Promotion of adult education was done through initiatives such as in conferences in Montreal 1960, Experimental World Program 1966-74, Conference in Tokyo 1972, Conference in Paris 1985, World Conference on Education for All 1990, the 1990 International Year of Literacy, Hamburg Declaration on Adult Learning 1997, etc. In the year 1976, UNESCO General Conference approved the Nairobi Recommendation on the Development of Adult Education. This enshrined the government's commitment to promote adult education as an integral part of the education system within a lifelong learning perspective. In the Nairobi Recommendation, adult education was defined as that form of education that enhances the ability, enrich the knowledge and improve the technical or professional qualification of people regarded as adults by the society, and that brings about changes in their attitudes or behavior. The World Declaration on Education for All in 1990 reaffirmed the right to learn and commitment to meet the basic learning needs of all the people by expanding learning opportunities. In the 1997 Hamburg Declaration on Adult Learning, UNESCO stated that literacy is broadly conceived as the basic knowledge and skill needed by all in a rapidly changing world and is a fundamental human right. Education for All movement. Education for All or EFA is a global movement led by UNESCO. EFA is the largest program of the organization. It is a global commitment to provide quality basic education for all children, youths and adults. It aims to expand early childhood care and education. UNESCO is supported by all governments, development agencies, non-governmental organizations, civil societies, media, etc. to achieve this goal. The movement was started in the year 1990 in Jomtien, Thailand, at the World Conference on Education for All. About 155 countries as well as representatives of 150 organizations agreed to reduce the illiteracy rate and promote universalization of primary education by the end of 2000. They recognized 6 goals such as universal access to learning, emphasis on learning outcomes, maintaining equality, broadening the scope of basic education, enhancing the environment for learning, and strengthening partnerships by the year 2000. Recently, in the World Education Forum, which took place in Dakar in the year 2000, 164 governments pledged to achieve EFA and identified 6 goals to be met by 2015. The Dakar Framework for Action is a reaffirmation of the vision set out in the World Declaration on Education for All in 1990 in Jomtien. It expressed the international community's collective commitment to pursue a broad-based strategy for ensuring that the basic learning needs for every child, youth and adult are met within a generation and sustained thereafter. The 6 goals identified in Dakar Framework for Action are: extend and improve child care and education, promote learning and life skills for young as well as adults, provide free and compulsory education for all, increase adult literacy by 50%, improve the quality of education, achieve gender parity by 2005 and also achieve gender equality by 2015. UNESCO has established several coordination mechanisms managed by UNESCO's EFA Global Partnership Team in order to sustain the political commitment to EFA and accelerate progress towards the 2015 targets. UNESCO has also developed the Education for All Development Index or EDI in order to evaluate each country's progress with regard to the goals of EFA set in the Dakar Framework for Action. The EDI measures the EFA goals selected on the basis of data availability using specific indicators. Each of the components is then assigned equal weight in overall index. The arithmetic mean of the indicators is the EDI value for each country. In conclusion, education is a fundamental human right and essential for exercise of all other human rights. Education is critical for achieving environmental and ethical awareness, values and attitudes, skills and behavior consistent with sustainable development, and for effective public participation in decision making. Education promotes individual freedom and yields important development benefits. The United Nations and UNESCO lay down international legal obligation to the right to education. They help promote and develop the right of every person to enjoy access to good quality education without discrimination or exclusion. UNESCO is considered as the post-war offspring of hope and faith. Its mandate was to contribute to peace and security of the world by advancing the mutual knowledge and understanding of people, thereby encouraging education and spread of culture, thus protecting, increasing and sharing in every appropriate way the world's culture and scientific heritage. UNESCO's programs in education are extended to unknown areas, and because of this reason it is wide reaching, diversified and at the same time controversial. The organization offers for intellectual cooperation and mutual assistance to many countries in the field of education. UNESCO's early work in the field of education started in 1947 with a pilot study on fundamental education in Marbiai Valley in Haiti. This project was followed by expert missions to other countries, including, for example, a mission to Afghanistan in 1949. In 1948, it suggested its member states to make education universal. In 1950, UNESCO organized projects for primary education in Latin America, Asia, Africa, etc. UNESCO after the World War II worked for the physical reconstruction of educational facilities of war devastated countries. It helped the countries in building their library and museums. It sponsors these countries with international programs, conferences and publications. UNESCO has played a lead role in shaping the Global Education First Initiative or GEFI. GEFI is a reflection of UNESCO's vision that education is the most effective way of fight poverty, improve health and well-being, generate growth and promote responsible citizenship. UNESCO has developed partnerships with many UN agencies like UNFPA, WHO and ILO. It collaborates with the UNFPA to promote population education, WHO to develop new approaches to health education, FAO to advance education in rural areas and promote food security, WHO to combat the HIV/AIDS pandemic, etc. It has partnerships with major NGOs to assist in the reconstruction of education in crisis and post-conflict situations. UNESCO supports research in comparative education and provides expertise and fosters partnerships to strengthen national educational leadership and the capacity of the countries to offer quality education for all. UNESCO has provided professional and technical support for governments of member states and has helped to disseminate the innovative policies, programs and practices of education for sustainable development developed by all stakeholders. Another important program of UNESCO is the United Nations Girls Education Initiative or UNGEI, which aims to ensure that girls and boys have equal opportunity to succeed in school. Hence, UNGEI focuses on the educational obstacles and opportunities that girls face at home and in their communities. Yet another program of UNESCO is the EduCAIDS program. This is UNESCO's HIV and AIDS education program. Gender equality in education is another global priority for UNESCO. Yet another concern of UNESCO is education for sustainable development or ESD. ESD means including key sustainable development issues into teaching and learning. Education for sustainable development consequently promotes competencies like critical thinking, imagining future scenarios and making decisions in a collaborative way. UNESCO has set standards for its member states for effective implementation of education. The issues may include climate change, disaster risk reduction, poverty, biodiversity and sustainable consumption. The member states of UNESCO have the obligation to report on measures they take for implementing standard setting instruments. Each member state submits periodic reports to the organization. The main concern in monitoring the implementation of UNESCO's standard setting instruments in regard to the right to education is to ensure that obligations undertaken by member states are incorporated into national legal systems. The 21st century presents new challenges for education systems worldwide. This is because of increasingly complex and interconnected changes in the world. We must examine broader development trends and their potential impact for creation and reproduction of knowledge. Forward-looking research and evidence-based policy dialogue is essential to strengthen the future of learning in this changing global environment. UNESCO is trying its best in strengthening their effort to reach this goal by promoting a humanistic vision of learning based on principles of respect for life, human dignity, cultural diversity as well as social justice and international solidarity. As an international laboratory of ideas, UNESCO is under the process of rethinking the fundamental principles that guide the world's approach to education and learning. Let me summarize the session. Social and cultural development is required to raise the general standards of people in a country for which education is an important activity. Its importance in society is indispensable and cohering. In a world characterized by diversity and pluralism, education focuses on the values, attitudes and behaviors which enable individuals to learn, to live and become active participants in the transformation of their societies. It is one of the most important investments a country can make. There are many intergovernmental organizations that provide assistance for education worldwide. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization or UNESCO is the most important of them all. It was created with a mission to contribute to peace in the world through education, science and culture. It believes that education has a crucial role to play in the decades to come in the creation of new world order and in ensuring social and economic progress on a equitable basis. The chapter deals with an introduction of UNESCO, its structure and the role it plays in the field of education. Now, you can try to answer the questions given here. When was UNESCO formulated and for what purpose? Name a few programs sponsored by UNESCO. Which are the principal sectors of UNESCO? When did the World Education Forum take place in Dakar? List the different goals identified in Dakar framework of action. What do you mean by the EFA movement? When it was first conducted and what were its goals? What is EduAIDS program? Now, you can go through these books for reference. United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO, Creating Norms for a Complex World by J.P. Singh, published by Taylor and Francis E. Library, New York in the year 2011. UNESCO and Social Sciences, written by S.P. Agarwal and J.C. Agarwal, published by Concept Publishing Company, New Delhi in the year 1988. Adult Education at Crossroads, Learning Our Way Out, written by Matthias Finger and Jose Manuel Asun, published by Z Books Limited, New York 2001. Thank you for watching this program. We can meet again with another topic soon. Have a nice day.